The night was quiet. The wind outside made the walls of Ben's old farm cabin creak. He was sitting by the small fire, reading an old book, trying to forget the silence that always came after sunset. His land was far from the main colony.
Oh.
People liked the quiet. Ben didn't mind it. It gave him peace. But peace also brought loneliness. Then came the knock, soft at first. Then again, louder. 3 quick knocks. Ben stood still, unsure if he heard right. No one ever came out this far. Not at this hour. Not during a storm. He walked to the door slowly and opened it, hand ready near the side where he kept his old stun rifle. Outside stood a woman, not human. Her skin was pale blue, and her hair was silver like moonlight. Her clothes were soaked and torn. Behind her stood 2 small children, holding each other, their thin arms shaking from the cold. Her eyes met his. They were tired, full of fear, but strong. "Please," she said, her voice barely louder than the wind, "take me for one night. Just feed my children." Ben blinked. The words didn't make full sense to him. It wasn't perfect English. It's more like a broken translation, maybe something her language didn't have the right words for. He looked at the children. Their cheeks were hollow, their feet bare. They looked like they hadn't eaten in days. Ben didn't care what she meant. He didn't ask questions. He just stepped aside and said, "Come in." The woman nodded once, almost too weak to speak. She guided the children inside. Ben closed the door quickly. The wind howled for a moment before it was sealed out. The warmth of the fire made the children sit close. Ben grabbed some towels and a blanket and gave them to the woman. She wrapped the kids first before herself. He went to the kitchen and heated a pot of stew. He added more water to stretch it. Hadn't cooked for anyone but himself in years. The smell filled the cabin. Children watched, silent but wide-eyed. When the food was ready, he served 3 bowls. The woman gently placed one in front of each child and whispered something in her language. The kids didn't wait. They ate quickly, but she told them to slow down. Ben gave her a bowl, too. "My name's Ben," he said as he sat down across. From her, she looked at him and gave a soft nod. "Salani," she said. Her voice was calm now, still quiet. Ben didn't ask where she came from. Not yet. He could see she was too tired. The children finished first and leaned against her, their eyes already closing. Salani stayed quiet, holding them. He set up a bedroll near the fire and added more wood. He gave her a pillow and said, "They can sleep here. It's warm." She looked at him with surprise, like she hadn't expected kindness. "Thank you," she whispered. Ben didn't sleep much that night. He sat in his chair, watching the fire. Once, he glanced at Salani and saw her watching him too, like she wasn't sure if she was safe. In the morning, Ben made tea. The children were still asleep, breathing steady. "Where did you come from?" Ben asked gently. "North," she said. "Village called Aaronfield. It was gone. Raiders." Ben nodded slowly. He had heard rumors. Some outposts had been attacked. No one knew why or by who. But the colony didn't send help. Too far, too risky. "How long have you been walking?" 5 days, Salani said. "Hiding, running, little food, no help." Ben looked at the children again. They looked better already. Sleep and food had done something good. But they needed more. He stood up. "You can stay a while. There's work here, but there's food too." Salani looked at him for a long moment. "Why?" Ben shrugged. "Because I would want someone to help me or my family if I had one." Her eyes softened. She didn't smile, but something changed in her face. She understood later that day Salani helped clean the cabin. She moved with care as if used to doing chores. The children played outside in the dry grass. Laughing for the first time, Ben fixed the old water pump and showed Salani where to gather clean water. He found some clothes in a trunk that might fit the children. As the sun went down, Ben watched them. The children sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Salani sat beside them, her hair now dry and shining softly in the evening light. She still looked tired, but also peaceful. Ben cooked again. This time with more food, Salani helped. She knew how to chop vegetables fast and neat. They ate together. It felt almost normal. Before bed, Solani said quietly when I said, I meant, let us stay. Alien phrase, not other meaning. Ben nodded. I figured. They looked at each other. Then she smiled. Just a little. He smiled too. He didn't know how long they would stay, or what would come next. Boat! For now, they were safe. And for the first time in a long while, Ben didn't feel alone. The morning sun rose slowly, casting golden light across the dry fields around Ben's cabin. The air was cold, but the sky was clear. Ben stepped outside with a hot mug in his hand and saw the children already awake, chasing each other in the tall grass. They laughed loudly, their bare feet kicking up dirt as they ran. He smiled without realizing it. Inside the cabin, Solani was cleaning the small cooking area. She had found some herbs in Ben's cabinet and arranged them neatly. Her movements were quiet but full of purpose. Ben watched her for a moment before stepping inside. They seem better today, he said. Selene turned. Yes, she replied. They laugh again. It's been long since they laughed. Ben nodded. They can stay here? I've got room. Solani didn't speak right away. She looked down at the counter, then back at Ben. You are kind, humans. Not all kind, but you are. Ben didn't know what to say, so he just said, you're safe here. Later that day, they worked together outside. Ben showed her how to repair the fence along the edge of his property. Some of the posts had fallen after last week's storm. Solani learned fast. She used the tools like she'd worked with them before. As they worked, Ben asked, what did you do before? I was a healer, she said. But not just that. I studied old things, ancient machines, things from before. Ben raised an eyebrow. Before what? Before the collapse? Solani said. Your kind calls it the fall of the Second Age. Ben whistled. You know your history. It was taught well, she replied softly. They worked in silence for a while, then returned to the cabin. Ben opened a locked storage crate and pulled out a small crate of rations. Old, but still good. He handed some to Solani. For the kids, he said. Solani took the food and looked him in the eyes. They will not forget this. I won't either. That night, after the children had fallen asleep, Solani sat by the fire with Ben. She sipped tea while he cleaned a piece of broken machinery from his shed. What happened to your village? He asked carefully. Solani didn't speak at first. Then she said they came in ships. Not marked. Not from any planet I know. They wanted something? They said we had something ancient. We didn't, or we didn't think we did. Raiders. No, Solani said. More than raiders, they wore black armor, spoke through machines. They took some people. Burned the rest. Ben looked up. And you escaped? Yes, she said, with my children. Barely. Ben felt anger rise in his chest. He had seen war before. He had fought and won. But this was different. Burning villages and taking families was more than war. It was cruelty. He leaned back in his chair. Did you see what ship they came in? Solani nodded slowly. Yes, it had a symbol, like a red eye. Ben frowned. That's not from any colony I know. Solani looked at him. I think they're looking for something. Maybe they think someone from my village had it. Ben stood up and walked to the shelf. He pulled down a small book. Inside were pages of old records, hand-drawn maps, reports from the early days of settlement. He flipped through them and showed one to Solani. This symbol? She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Yes, that one. Ben nodded. They showed up a few years back. Just rumors, never stayed in one place long. But they were seen near old dig sites. They searched for something, Solani whispered. Something lost. Ben closed the book. Whatever they want, it isn't worth hurting families. Solani looked down at the fire. They will come again. Ben didn't answer. He stared at the flames. The next few days passed peacefully. The children helped Solani in the garden. Ben showed them how to care for the animals to old goats and a few chickens. The children named each animal and made a game of talking to them. Scifi smiled more. Her skin began to regain its color. She started wearing one of Ben's extra jackets. It looked like she belonged. But the peace didn't last. On the 5th morning, Ben saw something strange in the sky. A small black dot. Moving fast, he grabbed his scope and looked closely. Scout ship? Not from the colony? Not from any trader he knew. Its markings were faded, but the shape. He had seen it in old reports. He ran inside. Scifi, he said, take the kids. Go to the cellar now. She looked at him, confused. What is it? They found you. Her face went pale, but she didn't ask more. She scooped up the children and led them to the hidden door in the floor. Ben opened it and helped them down. He tossed her a bag of supplies. Double quotes, stay quiet. Don't come out till I say. Closed the hatch and pulled the rug back over it then. He walked outside, slowly, and waited. The ship landed in the field just beyond the barn. Dust flew in every direction. The door opened. 2 figures stepped out, tall armored and holding strange weapons. Their helmets had no eyes. It was dark. Visors and one glowing red mark on the chest. Ben didn't move. They walked toward him. One of them spoke, voice mechanical. We seek a woman and 2 children. They were seen leaving the Aaronfield zone. Ben crossed his arms. No one like that here. This area will be searched. This is private human property. Ben said, you're not with the colony. You're not welcome here. The second figure raised its weapon. Stand aside. Ben reached behind the doorway and pulled out his old rifle. He pointed it at the ground but made sure they saw it. You take 1 step closer, he said, and this won't be quiet. One of them tilted its head. You are a protector? I'm just a man, Ben said. But I won't let you hurt them. They looked at each other. Then, without another word, turned and walked back to their ship. Ben watched until they flew off. Then he went inside and opened the cellar door. They're gone, he said. But they'll be back. Scifi climbed out with the children. Her face was calm but serious. We need to be ready. Ben nodded. We will be. The day after the scout ship left, the sky was quiet again, but something had changed in the air. Ben could feel it. The peace around his cabin no longer felt safe. It felt like something was waiting, watching. Scifi stood near the edge of the garden, holding her youngest child close. Her eyes scanned the trees in the distance. Even the birds were quiet. Ben walked over with a rolled-up map in his hands. We need to think ahead, he said softly. Scifi looked at him. They will return with more. Next time, they will not leave so easily, Ben nodded. He spread the map on the wooden table outside and pointed. This here is the old communications relay. It's broken, but if I can fix it, we can send a signal to the main colony. Maybe someone will listen. Scifi looked doubtful. You trust them? I don't know, Ben admitted. But right now, we need help. She studied the map. What about here? She pointed to a mark near the forest edge. This was once a bunker. My people used it during the first years. Ben raised an eyebrow. It still exists? I believe so, she replied. We hid supplies there. Maybe weapons, maybe data. Ben folded the map. I'll check it. You stay here with the kids, Scifi said firmly. I go with you. It's my past. I know the place better. Ben hesitated, then nodded. They left the children with a simple alarm sensor, a string of metal cans and bells near the door. The goats watched them leave with curious eyes. The path to the old bunker took them deep into the woods. Tall trees blocked most of the sun. The ground was covered with dry leaves and hidden roots. Ben kept his old rifle ready. Scifi carried a small pulse blade she had found in one of Ben's storage boxes. She held it like she had trained before. After an hour of walking, they reached a hill covered in moss. At its base was a metal door, nearly hidden under vines and dirt. Scifi brushed it off and pressed her hand against a small scanner. To Ben's surprise, it still lit up. A soft click. The door opened slowly. Inside was cold but dry. Dim lights flickered along the walls. The air smelled of rust and old machines. We use this to hide during storms, Solani whispered, and other things. They walked deeper, past old storage racks and empty crates. Finally, Solani stopped. In front of a locked cabinet. "Help me," she said. Ben used a metal tool to pry it open. Inside were dusty containers, and in the center, a small glowing cube. "What's that?" Ben asked. "Memory core," Solani replied. "Ancient, holds records from before the colony arrived." Then stared at it. "Could this be what those soldiers were looking for?" "Maybe," she said. "It holds knowledge, possibly something powerful." "Then we take it," Ben said, wrapping it in cloth. "But we have to be careful." As they left the bunker, the sky began to darken. Clouds rolled in fast. Lightning flashed in the distance. "Storm's coming," Ben muttered. "We need to move." They ran back toward the cabin. Halfway through the forest, they heard a strange sound, like a low hum. Ben looked up. A drone. "Get down," shouted. The drone zipped past, scanning the area. They hid under thick brush until it disappeared. "They're searching already," Solani said. "We don't have much time." They reached the cabin just as the rain began. The children ran out to greet them, then stopped when they saw the serious look on Ben's face. "Go inside," he said gently. "Stay close." Once. Inside, Ben locked the doors and windows. He placed the cube inside a hidden compartment under the floor. Solani covered it with old supplies. Ben sat by the fire and stared into the flames. "They're going to come soon. It's time for real." Solani nodded. "They always return." Ben stood and walked to the storage room, began pulling out old tools, parts, and scraps. He laid them on the table. "What are you doing?" Solani asked. "Building defenses," Ben replied. "I've got some traps. Maybe an old turret that still works." She walked over. "I'll help." The children stayed close while Ben and Solani worked late into the night. They repaired old panels, built a tripwire system, and reinforced the door with metal plates. Solani set small energy mines around the field's edge, hiding them under rocks. By morning, the cabin looked different. Not just a home anymore. It was becoming a stronghold. Ben checked the scanner. Nothing yet, but it won't stay quiet for long. Solani brought him a cup of tea. Her hands were shaking slightly. "Are you afraid?" he asked. "Yes," she said honestly, "but I will not run again." Ben nodded. "You won't have to." He looked out at the land around him. It was dry, wild, and lonely. But now it felt full, alive. He had something to protect, and he was ready. Dark clouds hung over the sky for 2 full days. Thunder rolled in the distance, but no rain came. The land was quiet, too quiet. Ben checked the sensors he had placed around the property every morning. Nothing yet, but he knew they were close. Inside the cabin, Solani taught her children old songs from her homeworld. Their soft voices floated through the air, giving life to the small house. Ben listened while he sharpened tools and adjusted the settings on his homemade defense system. By evening, the children had drawn pictures with colored chalk on the wooden floor-bright suns. Flowers, even a stick figure of Ben, holding a big stick, which made Solani smile, but smiles faded that night. Just after midnight, sharp alarm rang out bells and metal cans clanging in the wind. Ben jumped to his feet. "They're here." Solani rushed to the children, waking them gently and leading them to the hidden trapdoor in the corner. "Go down. Stay silent, no matter what." The children obeyed, their eyes wide but quiet. They trusted their mother, Ben, and Solani moved quickly. She grabbed her pulse blade. He grabbed his old rifle. They turned off all lights and moved to the front windows. Outside, dark figures moved in the field. 4, no, 5 of them. Glowing red marks on their armor. They were not in a hurry. They walked like hunters, knowing they had the upper hand. "They're testing us," Ben whispered. Slattered. "They don't expect resistance." Ben took a deep breath. "They're wrong." As the first figure stepped near the fence, the trap activated. A loud burst of electricity flashed, knocking the raider backward. The others moved fast, spreading out. Ben fired a warning shot. It struck the ground near one of them, making him dive for cover. "You're not welcome here," Ben shouted into the dark. "Leave now," a voice answered, mechanical and cold. "You have something that does not belong to you. Surrender it." "You're not getting anything," Ben yelled. "You touch this land. You face me." Another step. Then one of the energy mines exploded, sending light and dirt into the sky. Scifi moved quickly, throwing a small disc into the field. It beeped twice, then burst into smoke, covering the area. "They can't see," she said. "We have time." "Good," Ben replied. "We need to hit them before they regroup." He ran to the side window and fired again. One of the raiders dropped with a sharp cry. The others returned fire, hitting the cabin's outer wall. It splintered, but the metal inside held. Scifi moved like a shadow, slipping through the back and flanking the nearest enemy. Her blade struck with a quiet hum. A soldier fell without a sound. Ben took down another near the barn. To left. One of them shouted, "You don't understand what you're protecting." Ben growled, "I don't need to understand. I just know I won't let you hurt them." Suddenly, one of the last raiders charged toward the cabin, firing wildly. Ben took cover behind a thick metal panel. Scifi rushed him from behind, but the raider turned quickly and hit her with a shock baton. She fell back, stunned. Ben, single quotes, eyes narrowed. Rage built up inside him like fire. He stepped out from cover and aimed carefully. One shot. The raider fell. The last enemy stood still. For a second, he looked at Ben, turned, and ran into the trees. "Coward," Ben muttered. He dropped his rifle and ran to Scifi. She was breathing but weak. "I'm fine," she whispered, "just stunned." He helped her sit up. Her skin was pale again, but her eyes burned with strength. They stayed there for a while. Breathing in the silence, the children climbed out of the cellar, scared but unharmed. Scifi hugged them tightly. "It's over, for now." Ben looked out into the field. 4 armored bodies lay still in the grass. The 5th had escaped. "They'll be back," he said. "And next time, they'll bring more." Scifi stood, slowly. "Then we must move. We can't stay here." Ben nodded. "I'll pack supplies, but we need a plan." Scifi walked to the hidden compartment and pulled out the glowing cube. "They want this. It holds something they fear." Ben looked at it. "Then we need to find out what's inside." "I know someone," Scifi said. "Someone who can read this, but it's far. 3 days through the forest. Old outpost called Myra Station. Is he human?" "No," she said. "But he respects your kind. He used to serve as a bridge between our people. He will help." Ben sighed. "Then we move at first light." They spent the rest of the night preparing. Ben packed rations, tools, and weapons.
All together, gather, 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 love, love, qually, galley, galley, qually, galley, 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 yally 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 guys who I'm guy right guy right why Sarah right Raj The children helped, carrying small items in their arms. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, Ben looked at the cabin one last time. It had been his home for years. It's a place of quiet and peace. But now he had something greater to protect. A family, and a truth that others wanted to hide. The sky was still gray when they left the cabin behind. Ben walked in front with his rifle slung over his shoulder. Scifi followed closely, holding the youngest child in her arms while the older one walked beside her. The forest ahead was thick, full of twisted trees and strange sounds, but it was their only path. Each step felt heavy. Behind them was a place of comfort and safety. Ahead was danger but also hope. They moved carefully, avoiding open spaces. Ben kept checking the skies. For any sign of drones,
Solani led them through narrow paths only she seemed to remember. They rested under a large stone outcrop when the sun reached the top of the sky. Ben gave the children some food, and Solani shared water from the small purifier they had packed. No one spoke much. The air was full of silence that didn't feel peaceful anymore. After a short rest, they continued. By sunset, they reached the edge of an old trail, overgrown and cracked, but still visible. Solani pointed ahead. This leads to Myra Station. We should reach it tomorrow if we move fast. Ben nodded. We'll camp here tonight. They made a small fire, hidden behind thick bushes. The children fell asleep quickly, their bodies tired from the long walk. Solani sat close to the flames, rubbing her arms to stay warm. Ben sat beside her, cleaning the edge of his blade. You were brave back there, he said. I had to be, she replied softly. They would have taken everything. Ben nodded. You said this friend at Myra Station can read the cube? Yes, she said. His name is Oren. He's not like the others. He helped build this sector long ago. He worked with both humans and aliens. He knows many things. Can we trust him? We must. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Solani looked at Ben. Why did you let us in that night? She asked quietly. Ben looked into the fire. Because you knocked. But you didn't know us. I didn't need to, he said. You were cold, hungry. I saw your children. It was the right thing to do. Solani lowered her eyes. Many wouldn't have. Ben smiled slightly. I'm not many. In the middle of the night, Ben woke up to a strange sound. Not loud, but close. Like soft feet brushing against dry leaves, he sat up quietly and grabbed his rifle. He scanned the darkness. His eyes landed on a shadow moving fast between trees. A scout, Solani, he whispered. Wake the kids. She opened her eyes and nodded quickly. Packed their things in seconds. We have to go, Ben said. They moved off the trail, deeper into the forest. Behind them, another sound. Rose a sharp clicking noise. Like metal legs on stone, they've sent trackers, Solani said. Ben swore under his breath. They're not giving up. They ran through the forest, dodging branches and jumping over roots. The children held tight to their mother's arms. Ben led the way, heart pounding, after an hour of running. They found a shallow cave behind a waterfall. In here, Ben said. They can't track through water icily. They stepped inside, soaked but hidden. The cave was narrow, but deep enough to keep them out of sight. Selah placed the children on the driest spot and wrapped them in blankets. Ben stood at the entrance, watching the forest through the falling water. Minutes passed. Then he saw Ita. Tall figure, black armor, scanning the area just beyond the water. The figure paused, then turned away. Ben exhaled slowly. We need to move again before sunrise, he said. By dawn, they were on the road again. Solani moved with tired feet, but her eyes were sharp. Ben walked beside her now, watching every movement in the trees. Finally, near noon, they saw a structure rising between the hills. Old, covered in moss and vines, but still standing. Myra Station. They climbed the final hill and reached the entrance. Ben knocked twice on the metal door. Nothing. He knocked again. A small voice box clicked. Name Solani leaned forward. Solani of Aaronfield. Requesting entry. A pause. Then the door slid open with a low hiss. Inside stood an old alien. Taller than Solani, with faded silver skin and bright blue eyes. He wore long robes, stained from age but well cared for. Solani, he said with a warm smile. I feared you were gone. She stepped forward. We need your help, Oren. They're hunting us. He looked at Ben and the children, then at the bundles Solani held in her hand. Come in, he said, quickly. The door closed behind them, sealing out the world once again, inside. The station was quiet, filled with strange lights and humming machines. It smelled like dust and old wires. Oren led them to a round room with a large table and smooth chairs. Show me, he said. Solani unwrapped the glowing cube and placed it on the table. Oren's eyes widened. You brought this all the way here? Had no choice, she said. They want it badly. He touched the cube. It lit up with soft blue light. Symbols floated in the ancient text, slowly rotating. This is from before the second collapse, Oren said. This is dangerous. Knowledge. Ben leaned forward. What does it say? Oren looked at him. It speaks of a weapon, not of metal, but of mind. A system that can control thought, a signal that can silence whole planets without firing a shot. Ben stared. They want that? Yes, Oren said. And now, they know you have. Seleni's face grew pale. What do we do? Oren's eyes turned serious. We protect it, and we warn the others. War is coming. The air inside Myra Station felt heavy. Not from dust or age, but from the truth Oren had just spoken. Ben sat quietly, hands resting on the table, his eyes fixed on the glowing cube. Scifi held her children close. The younger one clung to her sleeve, sensing the worry in the room. Oren stood in front of the ancient device, reading the symbols as they slowly moved across the air. His face was serious. This cube, he said, contains instructions for something called the Mind Silence Protocol. It was created long ago by a lost race, a signal strong enough to bend the will of entire planets. It was buried because it was too dangerous. Ben leaned forward. Then why did your people keep it? Some believed it might one day be needed to stop a larger threat, Oren replied. Others feared what would happen if it was lost forever. So they hid it. But clearly, someone found traces of it. And now they're hunting the real thing? Scifi asked. Can it still be used? Oren shook his head. Not without the core codes. This cube only holds one part. The others were scattered long ago. Ben exhaled. Then they're still looking. Oren nodded. And they will not stop. A sharp sound broke the moment, Anne. Alarm. Oren moved quickly to a nearby panel. His fingers tapped the glowing keys. They're here, he said. An enemy ship is approaching. Fast. They must have tracked you. Ben stood up. How much time? Minutes, Oren replied. You must go. This station is old, but I can seal it down and delay them. I'll stay behind. Scifi stepped forward. You've done too much already. Oren gave a gentle smile. I'm too old to run, Scifi. Someone needs to keep this out of their hands. Go. Protect the children. Protect each other. Ben grabbed the cube and placed it in his pack. Turned to Scifi. Come on. We move now.
Ow!
Oren led them to a back tunnel, hidden behind a metal wall. This path leads into the hills. There's an old transport station. If you reach it, you might find a working ship. It's a long shot, but better than waiting here. Scifi hugged Oren briefly. Thank you. Go, he said, closing the door behind them. The tunnel was dark and narrow. They ran through it, following the small lights that blinked along the floor. The children stayed close, their small feet moving as fast as they could. Behind them, they heard the echo of explosions. The station was under attack, but they didn't stop. After what felt like hours, they reached the transport station Oren had mentioned. It was built into the side of a cliff, half covered in vines and rock. Broken shuttles lay around, rusted and forgotten. Ben looked around, then pointed. There, that one looks intact. They rushed to the small ship. Its surface was covered in dirt, but the core lights were still blinking. Can you fly it? Scifi asked. I've flown worse, Ben said. He climbed into the cockpit and powered it on. The ship hummed weakly, lights flickering. We've got power, he said. Barely Scifi and the kids climbed in. She placed her hand on the control panel, speaking a few words in her language. The ship responded, adjusting settings. Ancient. Language, she said. It still remembers. Ben grinned. Then let's see if it can still fly. The ship lifted slowly, shaking at first, but steady enough. Trees rushed by beneath them as they rose into the clouds. Behind them, dark shape moved through the sky. A warship. They're chasing us, Scifi said. Hold on, Ben muttered. He pushed the controls forward. The small ship sped through. The clouds, weaving between mountain peaks. Lasers fired from behind. One shot hit the side of their ship, causing it to shake hard. The children screamed. Ben steadied it. We can't outrun them forever. Solani reached into her pack and pulled out the cube. It was glowing brighter than before. It's reacting, she said. It knows something. Ben frowned. Can it help? Maybe, she replied. If I connect it to the ship's signal array, it might send out a false location. Ben nodded. Do it. Solani moved to the back panel and connected the cube. Lights flashed. A loud hum filled the ship. Outside, the warship paused. They've lost us, Ben said, watching the screen. The cube worked. They flew on for another hour, heading toward the northern Ridgean old human settlement marked on Ben's old maps. No one had used it in years, but it might still hold safety. Finally, they landed near a cave overlooking the valley. I'd been powered. Down the ship, children were already asleep, leaning on each other. Solani sat quietly, holding the cube in her lap. Ben sat beside her. We made it. For now, she said softly. But they'll come again. He nodded. Then we'll keep moving. Keep protecting the truth. Together. She looked at him, eyes soft. You could have walked away. Many times. But I didn't, Ben said, and I won't. Outside, the stars filled the sky, and somewhere far behind them, war was coming. But in that moment, in that quiet cave, they had each other. And that was enough to keep going.